Yeah, hey, good afternoon, Philippines. Live and alive here from Flinders University Library. We're very happy that we're here with you. Nako, ito po yung lingguhang kakwentuhan ninyo, ang inklinasyon. At nagkapasalamat po kami dahil kasama namin kayo lahat ngayon. And of course, we're very privileged this afternoon because we are with a very important person in Australia, in Adelaide, one of the most sought person because of her expertise in marketing and fundraising activities. I wonder why she have chosen sector of persons with disability. Maybe we're gonna find out later on from her what made him chose the sector. And of course, just one update po, 'di ba? Last week kinuwento ko sa inyo na nagkaroon ng referendum po dito sa Australia hinggil sa this is about the voice of the Aborigine people kung gusto nilang masali sa konstitusyon, ano? I mean, of course, the referendum is about the voice. And of course, almost 70% of Australians says no. And because of that, the Aborigine people in Australia is celebrating 1 week of silence. And we are respecting that. And we are one with them. So we're going to give details to you of that story next week. But for this week, ladies and gentlemen, privilege as we are. First, let me introduce my co-host, one of our discoveries in Adelaide. I found her in Adelaide, and she has now become a co-host of this segment called Panorama from Down Under. Miss Maria Nahil. Good afternoon, Maria.
Hello, good afternoon. Good afternoon to all the listeners and viewers of this program. And we are live here at Flinders University Technology Access Room. Yes.
Right.
So it's nice to see you here once again.
Yes. How are you doing? How are you doing this week, Adisa?
I've been doing fine. I have just been busy with some assessment because the semester is almost over. So we have to catch up with some assessments. Yeah.
Yeah. And also we have to catch up real good because our guest is a very, very busy person. And we, as early as now, we are thanking her for her presence. So without further ado, would you introduce her to our audience? Go ahead, Adisa.
Okay, thank you so much, DJ Ronnie. So our guest for this afternoon is an executive manager for marketing and fundraising at See Differently with Royal Society for the Blind. She has been working as an executive manager for marketing and fundraising for 2 years. And her role is she is in charge of all the marketing and fundraising activities for the organization. She also ensures that the wider community in Adelaide knows about See Differently services. And she has 20 years of work experience in Australia and London for both private and non-profit organizations. So let's welcome in our program, Ms. Sally Rafael.
Hi, Miss Sally. Good afternoon.
Hi, Ronel. Hi, Maria. Thank you so much for having me today. It's a great pleasure to be on your program.
Yeah, and thank you so much for accommodating our invitation.
Yeah, the privilege is ours, Miss Sally. And by the way, are you related to the famous Sally Rafael in the United States? I mean,
if only. I've been asked so many times, Ronel, but no, I don't think so.
Okay. Anyway, may I start with your previous job experience? You have been to London and to some other places as a fundraising. And why have you chosen the sector of disability to work with and to, well, have your efforts to market them and do some fundraising for the sector?
Yeah, I think I've always done marketing, fundraising, communication type jobs. I think it's really important that communities are communicated with, that people are involved in decision making. And it was when I was probably working in London that I really got into the not-for-profit sector. So I worked for a large council and then a social regeneration agency, particularly in social housing and providing a supported accommodation for people who were homeless, young people who had children very early, older people with disabilities. And that's where I became really passionate about the disability sector. From a personal experience, I also have a mum who has a disability, and so I've seen firsthand how good support can help people lead great independent lives. So for me, when I came back to Australia 5 or 6 years ago, I really wanted to make sure that my efforts for the rest of my career were focused on the not-for-profit and disability sector. So being at See Differently for the last 2 years has been really fantastic.
Mhm. How would you compare the environment in London and in Australia, for example, in terms of support system? Is it difficult to market here than in London in terms of attracting funders for persons with disabilities?
Look, I think some of the similarities are that lots of not-for-profits and disability providers are heavily reliant on government funding. So when I worked in London under different governments, there were very different levels of funding available. So when the Conservative government came in, a lot of funding for various social programs was cut. It's probably quite similar in Australia. The last couple of years, we've seen probably more funding in place for disability and social services type programs. So that's one of the consistent challenges. I think, you know, the UK and Australia are quite similar in that there's been a real shift to person-centred approaches for services. So giving the ability back to the people who have disabilities their own ability to choose their own services, to say what they want, to have not just services provided to them, but to be really in charge of their own services and to choose which suppliers work well for them. So in that way, I suppose marketing and choice have become part of our disability sectors across both the UK and Australia.
Okay. Kindly walk through, very briefly, kindly walk through us during the time of pandemic. How was it? How did you survive your organization? What were the challenges during the pandemic?
Sure. Look, you know, one of the big challenges is obviously not being able to bring all your staff together. So for us, our model is very much about going out into, we do a lot of our services are out in the community. So for example, our occupational therapists are out in the community. They go and visit clients' homes. They do workplace assessments. They do assessments in the home. We were able to continue a lot of that work. Although having said that, you know, just general communication when you're having to wear masks, when you're having to adhere to all of the COVID regulations was a real challenge for us. In terms of one of the big challenges was getting out to our regional communities. So we not only work with people in Adelaide, but out in all of the regions. So everywhere from Mount Gambier to the Riverland to Ceduna, those places as well. And for us, we had to change quite quickly and bring in things like telehealth conferencing and more virtual ways of helping people. You know, the other key thing that we weren't able to do were things like we weren't able to go to conferences, we weren't able to go to expos, we weren't able to do events where we show people our technology and things like that. So some of those things where, you know, being in the same room as someone or one-to-one talking to them, some of those things became much harder.
All right. Now, we are talking about those services and people, of course, the challenges. After this short video, I'm gonna focus. I and Adisa, we're gonna focus on your organization, Seeing Differently, Royal Society for the Blind. But in the meantime, JM, can we play the video?
Close your eyes. What do you see? Look beyond the emptiness, the challenges, the doubt. Because there is more. Listen. You'll see the world in the sounds around you. Watch the wind whistle. Watch the rain pitter-patter. Reach out. Feel what the people around you look like. Let the ups and downs of 1,000 words paint you a story. See the world your own way. Losing your sight is a daunting experience, but you don't have to go through it alone. We'll move forward together, side by side. We've been helping people change their view on blindness and vision impairment for the past 138 years. And we'll do the same for you. We'll give you the vision to imagine what's possible. We'll help you see differently.
All right. All right. Thank you very much. That was a very good video. And that thank you to the Seeing Differently Royal Society for the Blind organization. Sally, am I saying it right? Seeing Differently Royal Society for the Blind, or is it Seeing Differently already?
Just see differently, Ronel. Yeah, see differently.
See differently, yeah, see differently. And but before you were known as the Royal Society for the Blind.
That's correct. Yes. So yeah, see differently with the Royal Society for the Blind, or just see differently for short.
Okay, and please tell us. Yeah, please tell us about the organization, Sally, and what do you do? What are the objectives? Something like that. Please walk us through that. Yeah.
So as the video said, we've been around for nearly 140 years now, and we started off as a charity supporting people who are blind and vision impaired. So we started out with a small amount of services, and we started out helping people with employment, because all those years ago, people who were blind were often thought that they, couldn't do anything, couldn't contribute. So we started off by having employment options for those people. Over the years, obviously, all of our services have changed a huge amount. Our mission's really still the same. It's still about allowing people who are blind and vision impaired to lead incredible independent lives. So we offer quite a wide range of services, Ronel. So yeah, we have things like low vision optometry, we have occupational therapy, assistive technology is a huge area for us now. So selling people all of the different products, computers, adaptation technologies in the house and work that can help people, and also helping them use those technologies. We provide mobility training, so people who might have a white cane. We also provide counselling for both people who are blind and vision impaired as well as their families. We help people with Braille instruction. Over the last 20 years, we have now a guide and assistance dog school. So anyone who wants a guide dog in South Australia, we can help them out with that. We also offer employment support, so either someone who is unemployed or yet to go into the workforce, or people who are progressing with their vision loss and need some support in the workplace to continue to do their job. And at our Gillis Plains campus, we also have quite a large manufacturing and packaging facility where we do commercial work. So we do things like packing chocolates, cakes, we do plastic forming, a whole range of manufacturing, and we employ about 70 people under supported employment. So a range of people with different disabilities, some vision impaired people, other people with other different disabilities too. And yeah, we offer that service as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're saying that you also offer Braille services, say for example, for students with visual impairment, that they're in school, they want their text reference to be Brailled. Are you offering that also?
We do a little bit of Braille translation, but we mainly do Braille instruction. So people who are wanting to learn the Braille language, we have a fantastic instructor, Michael, who is legally blind, who helps teach Braille to people who want to be learning that skill.
Oh, so these are for newly blinds, I understand, or for small children. Right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, we do. We mainly work with adults, but we do some work with children as well.
Okay, Adisa, would you have some questions for?
Yeah, I'm actually curious about the guide dog service that you're offering because we do not have guide dogs for people with visual impairment in the Philippines.
Yeah,
Um, so,
sure.
h- so how do you run that service? How do you choose the dogs which will be trained for the service? And yeah.
Yeah, I can explain our guide dog program a little bit for you. So we're a smallish school in terms of like international standards, but what we do is we basically run the whole program. So we do our own breeding. So we've decided that Labradors and Golden Retrievers, and internationally it's the same, they tend to be really great breeds for guide dogs. They're dogs that love working. They've got great temperament, so they're friendly, they're social, and they enjoy working. So we do our own breeding in-house. So we have our own breeding program. We work with other international guide dog schools to swap dogs and swap genetics to make sure that we've got some really great dogs to work with. When the puppies are little, they go and live with volunteers. So we have a really large team of volunteers who help us with that initial puppy training phase. They get training. The dogs and the handler, the people come in and get training around how to bring up those little puppies in the first 12 to 14 months of their lives. Then if they get through all their health checks and they're looking like they're going to be really great guide dogs, they basically come into our guide dog school, which is at Gillis Plains campus. And we have a team of guide dog instructors who will then work with the dog and also then the client for about 15 to 20 weeks very intensively. It's like school. The dogs basically come in from Monday to Friday for the day and get taught all of the different skills that they need around. Really, it's about safety and being able to take that client to where they're going to go. So there's a lot of individualized training for guide dogs. So once the dog and the client have been matched up, we'll go to the person's house, we'll see where they perhaps go on the bus, where they go to work, where they drop off their kids at school, whatever their lifestyle's involved. And we'll train the dog to help that person do all of the things that they need to do. And then obviously we provide aftercare. So we help that the client and their dog, and they will work together as a partnership for about 8 years.
8 years.
8
You mean
years,
in
that's
that?
nice.
Yeah, in that duration, is the client obliged to pay, or is it answered by the organization?
Oh, so the way it works at the moment is anyone who's under 65 who is eligible. So you have to be legally blind to be eligible for a guide dog.
Okay.
So there is some NDIS funding, so some National
Right.
Disability Insurance Service
Insurance.
funding available.
Insurance scheme.
Basically, the way
Yeah.
it's worked though, and it still continues to work this way, is it's a hybrid funding. So guide dog schools around the world, and ours is no exception, tend to get some government funding, but also rely heavily on fundraising and donations as well. So we get funding we do campaigns every year where we ask our community to support us and donate to us. We also have things like trusts and foundations and bequests when people pass away, and they give us money to help support that guide dog school.
Right. Okay. And how many Australians with visual impairments are using the services of a guide dog? Because it seems a popular idea here.
Yeah, so look, it's quite small in terms of when you look at, even if you look at our numbers. So we support about 7,000 South Australians at the moment, but only about 70 or 80 of those have a guide dog. So it is still fairly small. Lots of people will prefer to use a white cane. But having said that, lots of people will try a white cane and think it's not for me. And so then are keen to try out having a guide dog.
Yeah. Now about the eligibility criteria, how does a blind person avail of the services of your organization?
Okay, so they can either come directly to us and just talk to our client team about all of the different options. Otherwise, we often get people who have been assessed with an NDIS package, so they'll have some funding already in place, and we'll be looking for a way to use that funding. That's one way. Another way that lots of people come through to us are people who have aged care funding packages, either in their home or through other aged care funding. They will also come through to us, often through a referral from their ophthalmologist or optometrist as well.
Okay. And so, is there an age limit? Say you're servicing from clients from age 3 to what age?
I think our oldest client at last check was had just turned 100, Ronelle. So
okay.
no, there is no age limit.
Age limit. Okay.
No, not at all.
So how do you interface with persons who are blind that are in school? Are there several interventions also being done by your group? If a blind person is in what so-called mainstream setup or in the special school, wherein just for the blind only?
So yeah, we have relationships with some of the specialist schools here. There is one in South Australia called SASB.
Okay.
We also work quite closely with another organisation called Can Do, which is another service provider who do a lot of work with children. So there is some sort of interface between when children then become adults and need our services. Otherwise, I suppose, it's like I said, it's a lot of a lot of referrals happen through various health channels or through people's plan managers and other ways to or they find out about us through lots of the other things that we're doing, going to disability forums, conferences, seeing us on social media. We do radio interviews, we do all sorts of things so that, in lots of different ways people know about us and what we're doing.
But say once a person who is blind is in school,
Yes.
are you in touch with the school or just with the students?
Mainly with the students. So we mainly work with people, I would say, on a one-to-one basis, Ronelle.
Right.
So
Yeah.
in lots of ways, that's how it works now in Australia, where people can choose which providers they want to go and talk to. We also get a lot of referrals, obviously, through all of our hospitals here in Adelaide as well. So people who might have had various types of accidents or other ways that their vision has been impaired. So get referrals through those networks to us as well.
Right. And how are you interfacing with their families? Because in the Philippines, our major problem, especially those women with visual impairment, their family don't want them to go out because of they might get hurt. Our places are not accessible, are not friendly to persons who are blind. Do you encounter the same barriers here in reaching out to your clients?
Well, I don't think so, Ronelle. I think there is certainly there is a greater acceptance that with the use of a white cane or a guide dog and all of the technology that's now available, that people who are blind or vision impaired can absolutely go out and lead great independent lives. So obviously we work with both the client but also their families as well. So we work with lots of people of all ages, and there might be young children, teenagers, partners, other people who are also involved in that journey about as you said, making it safer and more accessible for people to get out into the community. But I don't think we have that same level of people being as worried about letting their loved ones go out and explore the world.
Okay, Adisa?
Yeah, so we have tackled about the education services. Let's probably tackle about employment, because in the Philippines, one of the major issues for people with visual impairment is to find employment. So how do you assist people with visual impairment in South Australia in terms of employment? Do you usually partners with company, or do you provide them some employment skills training in order for them to be qualified or successful?
Yeah, so we have two programs in terms of employment. So we have an employment program that works with people individually around whatever skills they need. So it's completely individualized program. So and again, it could be people of any age. So everything from school leavers up to people in their 50s, 60s even. And that can be either people who depending on their vision impairment and what's happening with their vision. It might be around helping them with technology, helping them with their workplace and modifications to allow them to continue in their current employment. Sometimes it's about working with them on skills, confidence, other things, other training that they might need to get the job that they're after. We also do a lot of work as part of that program with employees as well. So employers, so businesses around. One of the things we've found a lot is that people are often thinking that they're going to have to make a huge amount of changes in their workplace to be able to accommodate someone who's blind or vision impaired. And we, as part of our job, to break down that mistruth, essentially, that there's often only some minor changes or workarounds that are needed to allow someone with a vision impairment to work in their organisation. The other side of our employment is out at Gillis Plains in our manufacturing and packaging facility, where we do offer supported employment for people who have a range of different disabilities in our factory environment. So basically, we look at employment across the whole spectrum, whether it's someone who is an accountant, someone who wants to be literally anything, or working in our factory as well. So we help people in a really wide range of ways individually on what they're trying to, the outcomes they're trying to create.
You have mentioned that there are 7,000 persons with visual impairment, at least in your record, 7,000 visually Australians with visual impairment. How many of those 7,000 are under your care or your group? And what are your statistics available? I mean, in terms of employability, in what field they are employed, and something like those data that you can share with us.
Oh, I'm not sure that I don't know, we collect data on all of our clients and their employment. I do know that probably, so of those 7,000 clients of ours, Ronelle, I would say only 30% of those are probably in an employment age bracket. So a lot of our clients, by the nature of vision impairment, are older generations and are retired. Having said that, I'm just thinking back to even our last, group of people who graduated from our guide dog school. We had people who worked in government. We had a teaching assistant. We've got someone who works in the arts and someone who works in disability advocacy. So, we're really seeing, I'm doing a session this afternoon with a client of ours, Cassie, who is legally blind, and she's a computer programmer. So we're seeing, I suppose, a really wide range of people working in all sorts of different professions, from very highly skilled professional people through to different things like manufacturing, packaging, gardening, you name it. We've probably helped someone into a different kind of job.
Yeah, and also, how many people with visual impairment preferred to go to higher education than those who prefer to just finish high school and proceed with the employment?
Well, I don't know off the top of my head what that statistic is for South Australia, Ronelle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, but all I can say is, so we have an employment program for school leavers, and I would say, it's probably about 20% of those people are looking at higher education opportunities. Some are interested in TAFE qualifications. Others are interested more in just getting out and getting a job and doing something different. So probably quite similar to the broad community, that there's we're seeing a really wide range of ambition and people looking for different skills and different jobs.
Okay, Adisa, you still have some more. So we'll have a few more minutes left with our very special guest this afternoon.
Yeah, well, probably let's talk about your upcoming events with your team on the 2nd of
right.
November.
I've heard of
Please
that.
give us a plug for TechFest. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
would you mind explaining about it? Oh, sorry.
Before Sally talks about the good things that will happen in seeing differently organization, we have been exposed to a very good methodology, which is called co-design, meaning you are
Oh,
the theory says that programs here should be co-designed, and I mean the clients and the organization should work together in designing the program. Are you witnessing that, or how is it being practiced in your organization?
Yeah, absolutely, Ronelle. So I think for us, there's two key things that are happening. So
Yeah.
for a start, we, out of all of our staff, so I think we have somewhere in the vicinity of 170 staff. 40% of those have a reported disability. So we have a huge amount of staff who have lived experience, particularly with blindness and vision impairment. So we have a great skill set within our organisation to be able to completely understand and be able to bring that into their work every day. The other thing that we have set up is a client advisory committee. So we have around about a dozen people who are clients of See Differently, a range of different experiences, different age groups, a really good gender split. And those people come together every couple of months, and we do exactly what you said, Ronelle. So we've been looking at gaps in terms of our service provision, things that they think we should be providing, but also working with them on co-design of projects and service delivery going forward. So that's only something that's going to grow into the future, and it's fantastic. There's, again, the lady I was telling you about before, Cassie, when she started at her, she's a computer engineer. When she started in her organisation, they developed a kiosk for transport that was intended for people with low vision, and she tried it and said, "Oh, look, it's really terrible. It doesn't work." So I think there isn't, if you're going to be designing things for people who are blind or vision impaired, the best way to do that is to get people involved from the very start. And we actually do a lot of work like that with corporates as well, Ronelle. So just an example is we've been doing some work with some of the banks around how they can make their banking systems more accessible. Things like, the cards that they use, the readers that they use, making sure that they understand what the really core challenges or the ways that people who are blind and vision impaired use those systems and what needs to change.
Yeah. Do you have talking ATM machines here in Adelaide?
We have a few of them, but they are not. They're probably not as widespread as they should be, Ronelle.
Yeah, because it's also an issue in the Philippines, the accessibility when it comes to bills. And in fact, our country has, as I said, replicated your polymer plastic. So that's also our bills in the Philippines right now. Yeah. Okay. Now, ma'am, a few more points for me. One is service contracting. I have noticed that you've said that the great amount of your funding comes from government. That's a very good thing for you. While us in the Philippines, a greater number still of our help comes from the international funders. So
Yes.
it's kind of contrast, yeah. Can you walk us through, for example, how are you getting your contracts? I mean, how is service contracting works? Well, of course, that if you can share or not, what are your obligations, or how do you go about getting a service contracting? Well, is it through NDIS or the National Disability Insurance Scheme, or there are other doors that you're using? Go ahead, please.
Yeah, you're right. So our first funding source is through the NDIS. So obviously we have to be an accredited NDIS provider. We have to sign up to their code of conduct, all of their requirements as an NDIS provider. And then they do regular audits of us to check on the quality of our services and our compliance with all of the criteria that they set for, quality service provision for our clients. Then basically, because it's on an individual level, so we work with all of the individual clients who have their NDIS funding packages, and we work out the best ways to give those clients what they're looking for, and personalise their NDIS funding plans for them, whether that's help with employment, whether it's a guide dog, whether it's mobility instruction, whether it's some counselling, a package of services. And for some of our clients, they might need some ongoing service provision, and other clients will only need us periodically throughout their lives, which is also completely fine. The other major bit of government funding that we get, Ronelle, is a package of funding called CHISP funding, and it's for aged care. And the way that works at the moment is we get a package of funding, and we get asked to deliver a certain amount of hours of support for people over 65. So we have to go back to aged care and show that we've been delivering the services that they've given us funding for.
Okay, so what you're saying, ma'am, is that you're getting your funding through individual clients. Of course, all of them are covered with the insurance scheme. And
Yep.
based on their coverage, you are planning the interventions that you're giving them, right?
That's correct. Yes, yeah.
That's correct. And how competitive is the process? I mean, I know that there is one or two more organizations such as you. So how is is it a competition or a coordination thing? I mean, say I'm being served by your group, and Adisa is going to be served with the other group.
Yeah.
Is it a competition or is it a collaboration? How do you interface with each other?
Look, so I think it's probably a combination, if I'm being honest with you. So obviously it's a competitive environment, and we're all looking to try and get clients and deliver great client services for people. But by the same token, we all work with other providers as well. So because we are very specialist, so we don't do a lot of just general disability support. We only do we only work with people who are blind or vision impaired. That's really our expertise and our niche service area. So we do work with a lot of other providers who perhaps will have clients who have a range of other needs, and we'll just deal with the vision side of things for those clients. So there is both competition, I think, in the marketplace, but also partnerships in terms of people working together to make sure that clients get what they need.
And how stringent are the requirements when you are entering into service contracting?
So look, all of our clients will have a personal plan in terms of how they want to spend their support money, what outcomes they're wanting to achieve, and those plans get reviewed and updated about every 12 to 18 months. As I said, there are also really stringent requirements, Ronelle, from the government and from the NDIS and from the Aged Care Commissioner in terms of our accreditation and us maintaining really great standards in terms of our systems, our processes, our ability to deal with things if they don't go right, and also making sure that, you know, client care is at the heart of everything we do.
Wow. And of course, maybe that's perhaps the reason why seeing differently is gaining grounds, right? Is it a fair statement that in spite of the pandemic, in spite of the, well, economic hardships, as they say, you are still thriving and serving, being able to serve your constituencies, your clients?
Definitely, and a lot of that's to do with our amazing team who are out there doing that every day, Renelle. So, you know, our occupational therapists and our technology team and our mobility instructors, they're out there, you know, working with our clients side by side every day. And, you know, we get really great feedback about the support that we provide and those relationships that we have with our clients. So, you know, I think like all not-for-profits, the people who work at See Differently are really committed and inspired to make a difference and to see those fantastic outcomes for our clients and see them out living their best lives. So that's what we're all about.
If I may ask, of course, all of us wants to have a good life, and perhaps my question is, how do you maintain the balance of the feasibility, the living standards of your clients and your staff? You're able to maintain them. How do you achieve the balance of all of this?
Look, we can only do what's within our control and within our remit, Ronelle, obviously.
Okay.
You know, obviously we do our best to make sure that those support services that we can provide are there and helping people and are aligned to people's aspirations. Obviously, some of the other things around, you know, cost of living and other things are completely out of our control, but we certainly do our best to work with each of our clients individually. So whether it's someone who's leaving school, or whether it's a mum with 2 kids, or whether it's someone who's retired and just recently lost their vision, we look at people's lifestyles and what they want to achieve out of our services.
Yeah, just a few last 2 points for me. First is on the aspect of being a newly blind individual. What are your services that can help a newly blind restore the normalcy in her life, ma'am?
The sorts of services that we would start off working with someone with are certainly our occupational therapists. So our occupational therapists will go out and work with people firstly in their home, so making sure people can navigate their home safely, but also, you know, working with potentially the family unit, so how things are organized. If some people have a tiny bit of vision left, it might be around contrast and lighting and other sort of any aids or adaptations that need to be made to the family home. It might be around tactile markers on various things. It might also be some technology in places like the kitchen so that you can continue to cook safely and do things like that. That would also extend to someone's workforce if they're working. One of the things we quite often provide to people who are newly blind is counselling. So we have 2 specialist counsellors who work with a lot of clients and their families as part of that journey and as part of that understanding, you know, about, you know, what they're going through emotionally as well. And then the third one that we would always work with people on is around their mobility training. So whether that's using a white cane, whether it's trying out a guide dog, whether it's just having an awareness of being out in the environment and being able to navigate safely around different environments. Those are the services we would help with.
Right. And we can attest, Adisa and I perhaps can attest that you have one of the best instructors in the mobility, because we've had an experience with your instructors during our first weeks here in Australia, and they're cool. They're very good, and they're very
Brilliant, aren't they?
professional.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, very good. Now,
Yeah,
ma'am,
we have worked with your team.
right. What are the support that or do you support organizations of Australians with visual impairment, and what support are you extending to them?
Sorry, can you just run that one by me again, Renelle?
Right. Do you support organizations of persons with visual impairment here in Australia?
So do we work with other like-minded
No,
organizations?
like groups of persons with visual impairment.
Like a group composed of like a group of composed of person with visual impairment.
So like sporting
Oh, no.
groups or other types of, is
Right,
that the
right,
sort of
yes, something
group
like that.
you mean?
Yes. Hmm.
Look, we do a little bit of it. I think one of the real issues that happened when block funding got taken away and the NDIS came in sort of 7 or 8 years ago was a lot of the funding for those groups was not in the new NDIS model, but you can see that starting to be rebuilt. So we do some groups and things ourselves. So we do cooking classes, we do some other groups. We're looking at a peer support program into next year. And I think increasingly we are starting to do a little bit more with groups like involved in blind sports and trying to do more partnership pieces into the future.
Okay. Before the event, ma'am, how is it difficult, or is it difficult to market or fundraise for persons with visual impairment? What are the pros and cons, if you may, of fundraising for us, for blind people, in your experience?
One of the biggest challenges we have in terms of marketing, and it's particularly probably the older generation, Ronelle, is that people's eyesight can often degenerate over a long time. So people start to make do with things. They make do with the fact that they can't read anymore. They make do with the fact that they can't do their own cooking anymore, when actually there are things that they could be doing that could help them still. So we see that particularly with the older generation, that there is a real element of, oh, we'll just get on with it. It's okay. It's what happens as you get older. So for us, getting through to that older generation, not directly, but also through their children and other things, and saying, hang on, we're here. There are things that you can do to still live at home, to still be independent. There's some great technology available that you've probably never heard of that could help you with day-to-day tasks. And we're here to help is a big challenge. I suppose on the fundraising side of things, a lot of our fundraising is really directed to things like guide dogs, because it has both a human and an animal element, and that makes it a little bit easier for us to appeal to the masses. Fundraising is great. We get so much community support, but I think globally we're seeing, particularly with the cost of living crises and other things, younger people are taking a lot longer to start being generous and giving their money to charities, which is probably putting a lot of pressure on charities, across the board, and we're no different.
All right, ma'am, can you please now walk through what's exciting things coming for Seeing Differently this coming November, please?
So the big one for us is we are running an event called Tech Fest in Adelaide on Thursday, the 2nd of November. And it's ourselves and a whole range of our technology partners all coming together. And it's really giving people a chance to come along and try different assistive technology. So not just see it on a website or see a video about it, but to come along and try it out for themselves with their families. We also have some workshop sessions happening. We've got a really great guy called Sam Seavey, who's coming from America as our event ambassador, and he is a technology guru. He runs a social media network called The Blind Life, and he is blind himself and he tries technology. That's what he does. So He is like the Taylor Swift of blind technology. So he's coming to join us, and he's going to tell everyone about all of the latest trends in technology, what's helped him in his life, what things people should really be looking out for. And yeah, it's just a chance for people to come and talk to our teams, talk to the technology experts, and like I said, give things a try. That's happening in Adelaide from 9:30 till 4:30 at a venue called U City. But if anyone wanted any more detail about that, the best place to go and have a look is our website, which is seedifferently.org.au.
seedifferently.org.au, and please count us in there, man. We'll be there. Okay, by the way, speaking of technology, say for example, there is a blind person who cannot pay the, I don't know if it's happening here, but it's certainly true in the Philippines. If there's, for example, a blind person who needs the technology but not have enough money, do you have installment plans to buy equipment to your organization, or you clients have to pay cash?
We don't have installment plans at the moment, Ronelle. We often will help people to go back and try and get more money in their NDIS plans if that is that's a feasible option. Yeah, it can be hard, particularly with different plans. There'll be different allocations of funding for the year for technology. So, but we will try and work with clients on different funding options if that's possible. We don't do paper plans at the moment.
Well, we wish that Philippines also have the that sort of NDIS thing, and maybe our next session will have to do with NDIS, and maybe Sally, you can help us connect with the NDIS people who are here in Adelaide, so that we can know more about the NDIS.
Absolutely, sounds it's a whole other thing that's not my area of specialism.
Right. No problem. Yes, Adisa, final word for our guest this afternoon.
Well, I have more.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
More
One
questions.
question. Go ahead.
And I hope it will not consume too much of your time yet.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm wondering if you have some services for, let's say, people with visual impairment who have multiple disabilities. Let's say, for example, if they are blind, if they also have they are also under the autism spectrum. Do you work with them, and do you have any kind of services that suits them?
We do, absolutely. So, but in that situation, we would usually work with another disability provider as well. So we would help certainly on all of the vision services side of things, and we would work with another provider on any of the more specialist autism services that would need to be provided.
Okay.
Yes, Adisa, one more for you. Go ahead. And because we have to let Miss Sally go in a while because she has
I think
go ahead. Yeah.
I can't believe how fast the hour has gone.
Yeah.
It consumed a week.
Yeah.
We have already consumed too much of your time.
Very educational. Now, if Adisa has no more queries for you, my last point maybe is, how do you see the community, ma'am, that the community of visual impairments in Adelaide, say 3-5 years from now? Are they, how about will there be more children with visual impairment or old persons with visual impairment? What is the direction that your organization will focus in the next 3 to 5 years for Adelaide, for Australians with visual impairment?
Yeah, we're not seeing an increase in the number of young people who are having vision impairment and blindness. So we don't see that. We see that probably going down in terms of health interventions and other things, Ronelle. But I think certainly as our population ages and we get more people who are particularly over 70, that area we will definitely see more low vision and blindness in people who are older, and that group of people is growing. So that is definitely an area of growth.
Yeah. And so your organization is prepared for that eventuality.
We're doing our best absolutely to be there for all of those South Australians who need us, including those older South Australians.
Now, the world is celebrating the Sight Saving Month, and I wonder if you have a message to Filipinos who are blind watching here this conversation with you. May we have some inspirational thoughts from you, ma'am?
Oh, look, our message is always around seeing differently. So our message is really around
How do we
looking
see
at,
differently?
well, it's about being able to still interact with the world, still be independent, still be living great lives. So looking at all of the ways that people can contribute, that people can still be active citizens. So for us, we always look at what people can do, what they're able to do, what their potential is, not at what people can't do. So that would be my big message. Look at what you can do, and look at how you can use all of the things at your disposal, all of the services, all of the technology, to be able to continue to do things.
My bonus point is, what is so far the most rewarding experience that you've ever had in your group that you would like to share with me today?
Oh, you know what? I think one of the highlights of my year every year, and it's always the same, Renelle, is when we have our guide and assistance dog graduations. They are an amazing day because you see a range of different people. So we had our last one only a couple of months ago, and there was, a young guy who's 19 with his first guide
When is
dog.
the next one, Sally? When is the
I'll
next
invite
one?
you along, Renelle, but he's taking his
Yeah,
guide
thank
dog
you
to
very
his
much for that.
uni
Yeah.
lectures every day. There's another mum
Mm.
with 3 kids who takes her dog on the school run every day. There's another lady who's doing advocacy work, and she takes her dog on flights and goes to conferences in Melbourne and Queensland, and he's doing all of this amazing work around disability advocacy. And I just think, the work that we do is allowing people just to continue to live their lives, whatever that is. So I think seeing that, connection with their guide dog, but also their connection with their communities is fantastic.
Miss Sally Raphael, thank you very much for your time and attention, and see you on your Tech Fest. We will be there, ma'am.
Forward to it. Thank you so much for having me again today. I really appreciated it.
Thank you, ma'am. Good day, and have the rest of the weekend. Thank you very much.
See you later. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Mga kaibigan, mga kanasyon, mga kakwentuhan, yan po si Miss Sally Raphael ng See Differently. Diba? Oo nga, hindi tayo nagkaroon ng photo ops kasi she has to catch up with another meeting at 1:30. So, but thank you for your time, Miss Sally. And Adisa, anong masasabi mo sa ating nakakwentuhan this afternoon?
Yan, isa na namang very informative na hapon sa ating lahat. It was really nice for our Filipino listeners and viewers to get to know the support system which are available for people with visual impairment here in Adelaide.
Anong masasabi natin? Sana all?
Sana all nga eh. Sana all merong NDIS funding.
Oo nga. So, kailangan tulungan tayo ni Director Ina na magkaroon ng Philippine Disability Insurance Scheme, di ba?
Scheme.
Para hindi,
kasi meron silang national.
Para yung Maharlika Fund, ilagay na lang doon sa NDIS ng Pilipinas, di ba?
Tama.
Huwag na lang yung
Mas
Maharlika
maganda
Fund
yan.
kasi sila lang masaya doon, di ba?
Sila lang nakikinabang doon.
Oo, bago tayo matapos, ma'am, pwedeng pa JM yung ating mga acknowledgements. Please go ahead, ma'am.
We would like to thank our sponsors and partners, CBM Global Disability Inclusion, Philippine Coalition United Nations Conventions on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities or PCUNCRPD, ENET Philippines, Norfield Foundation, CISO, Philippine Partnership on Children with Disabilities or PPCWD, Liliane Funds, Deafblind Support Philippines or DBSP, Philippine Chamber of Massage Industries for the Visually Impaired or PCMIVI, Provincial Government of Batangas, PIDAO Pangasinan, Regional Associations of Women with Disability or RAWWD Region 1, Mabini Movement, and of course, the ASEAN Enabling Master Plan 2025 Coalition. Thank you.
Yan, salamat Doc Gina. Salamat sa iyong mga pag-mention ng acknowledgement. And of course, Kami naman po dito, nagpapasalamat kay Maria Nahil, kay Girly, kay Nympha sa pagtulong sa amin dito sa episode na ito. At mula po dito sa library ng Flinders University ay nagpapasalamat po kami sa inyong lahat. At alam po ninyo ang pinaka-importanting leksyon natin na sinabi kanina, yung accountability. At saka yung co-design. Yung co-design kasi, ini-involve mo yung kliyente mo o yung sa atin sa Pilipinas, tinatawag nating claim holders. Kasi yun ang sinasabi sa UNCRPD. Kasali dapat ang siniserbisyohan sa ginagawang o sa binabalangkas na serbisyo. Hindi yung ibababa na lang sa iyo at tatanggapin mo na lang. Hindi po ganoon ang itinuturi dito sa Australia. Dito po, sinisiguro ng gobyerno na may co-design na yung mga organisasyon, yung mga not-for-profit organization dito sa Australia ay sinisiguro na lahat ng programa na ginagawa nila ay involve o kasali ang mga siniserbisyohan at ang kanilang pamilya. Ano po? Kaya yun sana ang matutunan natin sa hapon na ito na ang mga may kapansanan hindi lang tagatanggap, kung hindi dapat tinatanong din sila sa serbisyong iaalay mo sa kanila. At yan po ang natutunan natin sa See Differently. Sana sa mga susunod na linggo, sa mga susunod na araw, matapos marinig natin yung interview, iba na rin yung pananaw natin sa ating sektor sa Pilipinong may kapansanan at yung mga nagbibigay ng serbisyo, salamat po. Pero sana gayahin po natin yung sistema dito. Hindi naman po kailangan ng pera yun eh. Tatanungin mo lang kung anong serbisyong iaalok mo. Yung bagay suitable, yung ba'y bagay sa mga bulag, yung ba'y para sa mga deaf, yung ba'y para sa mga pilay. Angkop ba yung serbisyo yon? Hindi yung basta na lamang ibababa mo kasi taga-gobyerno ka at ikaw may hawak ng pera. Hindi ho ganoon. At hindi po ganoon ang pinopromote dito sa Australia. At kaya natin sa Pilipinas yun. Huwag laging sasabihin walang pera. Ang kailangan lang po ay dagdagan pa yung malasakit at tunay na paglilingkod sa ating mga kababayan. Sa ngalan po ni Maria Nahil, ito po si DJ Ronnie, nagsasabing maraming salamat po. At lagi niyong tatandaan, don't forget to smile, don't forget to count your blessings. At inklusyon, now na!